Hello guys, welcome back again to my YouTube channel. My name is Abiola, and in today's video we will be taking the stitching tutorial of this shirt top that we cut in our last video. Guys, I wanted to just say a thing or two. If you're coming across this video for the first time, you need to watch the cutting part of this tutorial so that you can understand what is going on here. So I will have that tutorial linked in the description box below. So guys, without wasting so much of our time, let's just go straight into the video of today. The first step in this stitching tutorial is taking our darts. We had a total of 12 darts from our last video, so I'll go ahead and take in all those darts, and here is what I have when I was done. I took the darts till the end. Okay, for the back, here is the dart. This dart just helps to snatch your waist. Okay, after that I'm going to go ahead and hem the base of all areas of the outfit. This is how I'm going to go and hem it on my sewing machine. I'll just fold it the same way you see me doing, and here is what I have when I was done. It is neat and flat. Okay, here is the other part as well. I also hemmed it down using 1 inch allowance. You fold it twice now, half inch to take off the 1 inch allowance which I added. Okay, so the next thing now is to create take in the allowance that was left for our buttonholes. What we left there was 2 inches. I'm trying to mark the same down there because since I hemmed it, the notch that I left there has disappeared. So I'm trying to mark out the 2 inches properly on the top and the down part. So the next thing I'm going to do is to fold the button allowance. Okay, the one that is going to take the button is going to be smaller than the one that is going to take the buttonhole. I'm going to be putting my buttons on the right side, the one I'm pointing at. So I'm going to fold that a little bit smaller. Just look at how I'm going to fold it, just like this, just like this, and like this, just to match with the notch there. This is how I'm going to fold it, and I'm going to stitch it down. I'll stitch it from inside anyway. From this inside I are saying, I'll stitch it down. And this is the part that the button is going to be on. So when I'm done with that, I'll stitch the second one. This is the one I'll take the buttonhole, so it's going to be bigger. So I'll stitch it like this and allow it to get to the notched part, so it's going to appear a little bit bigger than the other one. You could have decided to make your own buttonhole 2.5 inches so that it's more like the difference is more conspicuous, but for me, I'll just do this. And here's what I have when I was done stitching them down. This one is a bit smaller than the one that will take the buttonhole, as you can see. The next step will be to join the shoulders, and we're going to put them right sides facing each other and join the shoulders using 0.5 inch allowance. That's ½ inch allowance. So I'm going to go to my sewing machine and stitch that down. We're moving on to the sleeves. So I decided to show you guys how I did the first top I made. There was no raw edge when I was done attaching the pleated part to the wrist part, because that day I had a lot of time on my hands, so I did it like this. But today no time, so I'm going to be pleating it directly like this. We're going to see the raw edge, so you can do yours like the other way, which is neater, but as there's no time, I'm just going to pleat it directly like this. After which I'll go ahead and weave the raw edge, which is still going to be neat, just not as neat as the other one. Here's what I have when I was done pleating. I'll just go to my sewing machine and just stitch it down using 0.5 inch allowance, and yeah, there you go. And when I was done, here's what I have. So what I'm going to do next is to use my iron to open the seams and just iron it so that it comes out flat. After ironing it, I will then go ahead and top stitch. The reason I'm going to top stitch towards the other end is to ensure that the stuff doesn't bulge out too much, because this fabric is a thick fabric. So for you not to bulge out too much, I'm going to go ahead and top stitch it towards the other side. So guys, here is what I have when I was done. I top stitched it towards the other end and it's laying better than it was before. And here is the second sleeve as well. The next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and attach both sleeves to the appropriate position, but they have to be pleated as well, okay? And before I attach it, I'm going to take half of the sleeve, like notch half of the sleeve, because I'm going to start from the midpoint to the other end, then come back from the midpoint to the other end. So after notching, I'll place it that way and just pleat randomly. You can decide to pleat at the shoulder point alone before you continue stitching down. Just do whatever you want depending on the design you have in mind. After which, I'll go ahead and stitch the sides using 1 inch allowance. We left 1 inch allowance at the side. From our last tutorial, I showed you guys the first top that I made, which is this one. I told you guys that I used loops for this one and not rope, so I just wanted to show you how the loops are arranged in case you decide to use loops for your own and not just the single rope that I'm going to use in this tutorial. Here is how I placed it so that you don't feel confused, just to have an idea. For the ropes, I cut out 2 pieces of fabric, which is 4 inch in width and 24 inches in length. So I went ahead to my sewing machine to stitch them with just very little allowance. I didn't use up to ½ inch allowance because I was trying to manage my fabric and I was running out of fabric. So when I was done stitching them by just a little allowance on my sewing machine, I went ahead to flip them over using a screwdriver. Guys, anything, we need to just do anything. After which, I went ahead to iron them properly so that it relaxes very well. And when I was done, here's what I have. Then I went ahead to attach the rope to the point where it should be. Guys, here's how I'm going to attach the rope. But before I did that, I measured 1.5 inch from the part where the back point was stopping, so I measured 1.5 inch, and on that point I stitched this rope down by 0.5 inch. We'll still make it neater. Just come with me and just see how I did it. Just come with me. And I went to my sewing machine and I stitched it down using ½ inch allowance, and here is what I have. After that, I fold it in again and top stitched it so that it has this neat finishing that you can see. You understand, that place is very open, so it needs to be neat. No raw edge should be found at that edge. And here is what I have when I was done. Okay, I'll go ahead and do the same thing at the other side. And yeah, I will now stitch it like this, top stitch it down so that it stays in place. I don't know if you guys understand what I said. I will then go ahead and top stitch it at that point that you see me showing you guys, so that the rope stays in place. At the same time, it comes out neat. And yeah, this stitching has to be done in a very neat manner because it's going to show in front. After that, I went ahead to attach my collar, and that is a separate video from this one. I'll have it linked to the description box as well so that you can check it out. Okay, I did it this way so that it is very detailed and very beginner friendly, so that anybody who comes across it can find it very easy. So let's go back to what we were doing from our last video. I remember telling you guys that we have false buttons at some point, which means they are sealed shut because of the rope at the back. They have to be sealed shut. So this 1, 2, 3 are sealed, and I'm going to show you how we're going to seal them. So they were basically sealed shut and decorated with fancy buttons. So how we'll seal them shut is to trace a line from the back to the front like this. This line is going to enable us know where to stop while stitching on our sewing machine, and I've already marked the point I want to stop. So I'm going to go ahead and transfer it to the other side so as to know where I am going to stop. So when I'm done, I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and stitch 2 sides and stop at that point that I marked, which I'm marking again. Let me rephrase. I'm going to go to my sewing machine and make 2 straight stitches to hold down that point to the point where I marked. Before going to my sewing machine, I went ahead to use pins to hold it down so that it's going to be very easy for me while stitching on my sewing machine, and so that it overlaps well. You guys know this is supposed to overlap. So I went to my sewing machine and I stitched it down, and here's what I have. So the next step is to mark where I want my buttonholes to be. So I marked 2 inch from the top, then I started marking 2.5 inch from that point, 2.5 inch to the end, 2.5 inch, another 2.5 inch. Basically I just kept marking 2.5 inch until I got to the end, after which I went ahead to place the buttons to see how they would look when I'm done. And yeah, that's basically it. Then I used my sewing machine to create buttonholes on the shirt, and yeah, that was it. I just tried to be very careful so that it's neat, because I don't have a buttonhole machine, so I used a sewing machine. If you don't know how to do that, just search how to use your manual machine or industrial machine to create a buttonhole, and you'll see lots of videos on how to do that. So here's what I have when I was done. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed watching and if you learned a thing or two, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, leave me comments below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.